Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town ran with Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. I am an improviser, writer, actor, creative multi-hyphenate, and of course, and most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. I was around in Houston when it was just called East Downtown. Edo. I like Edo, but that was new to me, folks. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, and now, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it The 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros. Here we aren't doom and gloom casual Houston fans, or worse, the national media haters. We love our teams and root them on, but also try to discuss the ins and outs of our team without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. On today's episode, Paul's Picks is back. You've heard of Jimmy the Greek. Well, I'm Paulie the Geek. We're going to get to all of the NFL Week 8 picks in this podcast. I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. A shout out to Arrested Development fans. If you know that Buster Bluth quote, you know I love you. I'd also like to shout out the Space Cadet Sports Substack. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com. Go there for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles. It seems like I've done my vocal warm-ups today, but heads up, folks, I did not. It will get weird at some point today, folks. I'm recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, The Roz, to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me today. Longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. I tend to be reactionary, but reactionary to the reactionary. I believe all sports podcasts and blogs right now are super reactionary. They're full of hot takes. They try to get you in your emotions. They just get your sports emotions and stir it up like a hornet's nest. I react to those reactions. I want to be a soothing balm, I guess, on your sports wounds, Houston fans. I don't know. I'm the sour cream. I don't know what metaphor I'm trying to go with, so I'm going to get out of here before I start mixing my metaphors too much. I'd like to wish a good day, mates, to all my listeners. Let's get to the podcast. Let's get to Paul's picks. Before we completely get into it, I, of course, would like to mention, or reiterate, I should say, I am a comedian. These are the jokes. But I reiterate that mostly because we are going to talk about making picks on the NFL games. We are going to talk about lines. We got some over or under. There's a lot of gambling terms in here, and I would just like to remind you that this is for funsies, right? This is, don't go betting the farm on Paul's picks. You fool! Don't do it. In this day and age, more than ever, there's all kinds of news about gambling and stuff right now. I just want to remind you, this kind of stuff is supposed to be fun. They really have made gambling really easy. They put it at your fingertips. I have a fantasy league. I have my Pick'ems league, but I try to not spend too much money on that kind of stuff. So this is for fun. This is, if anything, this is for comedy. This is so you can go back, look at my picks, compare them to your picks and laugh at me. Particularly this season. Before we get into next week, before we get to week 8 picks, oh my gosh, week 7 was tough for me, folks. For those of you who listened to last week's podcast, you know that I was 7-8 based off of the picks that I gave you. But folks, I hate to admit it. I did not set my picks for week 7 in my app. I ended up going 4-11 in my week 7 in the sleeper app. So that sucks. I thought I put them in after I did the podcast. Usually that's what I do. I record the podcast, I put my picks in. I didn't do that. So I'm eating a lot of L's on that week. That now puts my record in that sleeper app at 57-51. I'm not at the very bottom of the league, but I should be. Oh boy, I should be. I'm 11 out of 13 right now. And I feel like it's going to be a tough one. I got to crawl myself out of that hole. So we're not going to get too spicy. Last week I was talking about going with my gut a lot more. Carla's dog of the week ended up being an embarrassing pick. I apologize, Carla. We're not going to have a dog of the week this week because I've embarrassed Carla. We'll see. It'll have to be Paul's dog of the week. I don't think I could do that to her. But before I completely get into it, every week we have Paul's pick of the week, which is going to be kind of, like, this is the one I feel the most confident about, and Carla's dog of the week, which is the underdog of the week, based off of the lines, based off of how consensus feels about those picks. And folks, right now, after having that bad of a week, I'm just trying to get some momentum back. We'll see. We'll see if we have a dog of the week. Let's get to NFL Week 8. Tonight's game. That's going to be Thursday night's game. I'm recording this on Thursday. This podcast is coming out on a Thursday. Is Minnesota versus the LA Chargers. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-3. Los Angeles Chargers. I'm already moving the Chargers. They've been moved enough, Paul. Stop moving them. The LA Chargers are 4-3. We're feeling a little bit more confident about the Chargers. That offense Vegas is giving them 3.5 at home here for this game. The over/under is 44.5. Yeah, I mean, I really like the Vikings. They're one of the teams that I kind of have been picking consistently this season. I feel good about their coaching. I feel good about the talent. Obviously, good enough about the talent. And it's one of those teams that I feel like it's coached up to win their games. However, I do think the overall talent on the roster of the Chargers might be too much for them. I feel like that's maybe what Vegas is feeling as well. I'm going with the Chargers here. Look, after a week like last week, I don't want to take too many L's, folks. So we're going with the Chargers. We're not going to overthink it. That's your Thursday night pick. We're moving on to Sunday morning. And, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about my Houston Texans, your Houston Texans, if you're tuning in as a Houston fan. Folks, the Houston Texans are 2-4. It has been a tough season. There are people already just frothing at the mouth in Houston. They're ready to move on from Nick Caserio. They've given up hope in D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caley. They have even perhaps given up on C.J. Stroud or have lost hope in him. There's so many people completely jumping ship in Houston, and that's how it goes. I've been a fan of the Houston Texans in some kind of capacity, at least since the inception of the Houston Texans. I mean, I'd go so far as to say I'm a Houston Oilers fan, more than anything. That doesn't mean I followed the Titans that closely since they've left. That just means that was my football team. That's the team that has my heart and my fandom. And the Houston Texans have been tough to follow and disappointing. For most of the time that they have been in existence. So, I have followed some very frustrating Houston Texans teams, and some of y'all are super casual, is all I've got to say. But football in Texas is meant for overreaction. You don't have that many football games in a season. I feel like this is people transferring their emotions, displacing their emotions, putting it on other things. If it saves you from doing terrible things or being mean to people, I guess go ahead and do it. But I also am just like, calm down. Cálmate. Okay? Like, maybe. I've even heard people say that the McNairs need to sell. And maybe they do. I'm not the biggest fan of the McNairs, but also they have turned this organization, the new generation ownership has turned this organization around a bit. Nick Caserio's did a fairly good job. There could be a case for having a new general manager in Houston, but like all of these things, it just seems way too early. Let the season finish out a bit. And some of you naysayers, some of you doomers and gloomers may be right about this Houston Texans team. This window could have closed, and the Colts may have, absolutely, maybe this is the Colts completely turning the tide on their organization back in the right direction for them. That may be the case. Football can be like that. But I'm just saying, good Lord, calm down right now. This is a lot early. And but with that being said, with all that being said, me telling you to calm down, me saying be a little reasonable, I understand all of the criticism of this organization right now. I'm just saying that this season could have a potential for turning it around. That turnaround could bring some momentum in the right direction for the Houston Texans and keeping this window open and competing against a team like the Colts. The Colts would still have to maintain being top dogs in the AFC South, not just for the remainder of this season, but going forward against a hungry Jacksonville Jaguars team as well. The Tennessee Titans aren't going to be basement dwellers forever, as much as it pains me to say that. So, I'm just saying, this might be a lot of emotion. This might be a lot of reaction very soon, very early. But I also get it too, because I'm a big Houston Astros fan, so obviously that's my number one team. That's the sport that I get completely invested into and get emotional about probably the most. And I'm always saying it's a long season, but with football, you don't have that many games. So each game does feel like an overreaction, and that maybe it is a bit warranted, because that was a huge missed opportunity in Seattle. But with that being said, let's look about their game going forward. We've been negative about the Texans enough on this podcast. Let's look at them against the San Francisco 49ers at home. Also, correction. On last podcast and yesterday's podcast, I said the Texans were on a road trip. I obviously looked at that schedule wrong. They have a good homestand right now, which gives me a little bit more optimism about this season potentially being turned around. It's not all over yet. Cálmate. It could turn around. I'm not saying it will. This Texans team has a lot to figure out. But they're playing this game at home against the San Francisco 49ers. The Texans are favored by 1.5 points with a 41.5 over-under. Even the spread here doesn't feel good about the Texans at home against a team that is completely injured. in the San Francisco 49ers, but are completely coached up. The Texans have some injury problems right now. But it also seems like they have a lot of execution problems right now. They have offensive line problems right now. They have consistency problems right now. I hate to say it, but on short rest, I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers in this game. I really hate to say this, but this isn't just me trying to win my sleeper league, trying to get some extra W's. No, I honestly am saying this is going to be a tough week for the Houston Texans. And the way that they've been playing, the way that they played with 2 weeks worth of preparation and rest, and now gave me the result that we saw in Seattle, and I'm supposed to have faith in them coming on short rest against a team that is heavily coached up. I just don't feel that confident about it. And, that's after me saying that we need to calm down and maybe the season can turn around. I really think they can. If this game is a loss and that shakes up who's starting, that shakes up and puts a fire under some people's butts potentially for their jobs on the coaching staff, potentially for their starting jobs for the players, then maybe the rest of the homestand can turn itself around. Maybe we could win that game on the road at Tennessee, and maybe we're feeling a little bit better about competing for a playoff spot. We'll have to see. Folks, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and pick the rest of NFL Week 8. We'll be right back.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. Carla bolted up. She does not like my Pat O'Brien voice there, or Jimmy Fallon doing Pat O'Brien. Is that even the right name, the Access Hollywood host? Is that even the right show? I don't know. Welcome back to your irreverent Houston Sports Podcast. If you're coming back from break, or if you're choosing to listen at this moment in the podcast, welcome and good day to you. We're here doing Paul's Picks. I just got off of an emotional rant, an emotional roller coaster where I really couldn't figure out if I'm optimistic or pessimistic about the Houston Texans, but I'm saying just hold. Maybe that's what it is. It isn't buy, it isn't sell, it's hold. For those of you Robin Hoods out there, for those of you who trade stocks, for those I don't know what I'm saying. I'm in my head about the Texans. I'm in my emotions perhaps about the Texans. I don't know. Let's move ahead and get some more of these NFL games picked. We're looking at the New York Jets versus the Cincinnati Bengals here. The Bengals are favored at home by 6.5. The over-under is 44.5. The Jets have yet to win a game this season, and that's even after me picking them to surprise everyone, surprise the world, and win last week, and they failed me. They completely failed me. I embarrassed myself. By picking the Jets, and I got what I deserved. Let's be honest. I picked the Jets. I should not have done that. There was a video this week that I saw of a young Jets fan, and like a reporter asked him, like, why are you a Jets fan? And he was like, I was born into this misery, basically. Oh my goodness. You see, that's what worries me. I have a baby on the way. I don't know why I prefer to refer to my baby in a fat bastard voice. That's for me and my therapist to figure out. But I don't want to bring this baby into a toxic fan base where they're just used to losing, and they're just used to an organization not protecting their quarterback and ruining them. I remember a quarterback by the name of David Carr. Maybe that's why I'm all in my emotions, Houston Texans fans and Houston Texans front office. Protect your quarterback. CJ looks like he could be good. Protect him. All right, we're talking about the Jets, though, right? I should take another break. I should just take another break and get these emotions sorted. Instead, I'm just going to drink some cold brew. This podcast and mental breakdown brought to you by Cold Brew. Do you not want or have do you not want to see a therapist? Do you not have the money to see a therapist? Well, drink Cold Brew. Your heart will start beating and you'll forget what you were stressed about. Folks, speaking of being stressed, the New York Jets are going to lose this football game to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's just an easy pick. We're choosing the Bengals and moving on. Moving on from spiraling out about the Houston Texans, the Chicago Bears are playing the Baltimore Ravens this week. The Ravens are favored at home by 6.5. Which is kind of shocking to me. I'm not going to lie. You know, my neighbor, I've said this on the podcast before, my neighbor is a Chicago Bears fan. He's been talking to me about how good the Bears are. I've been watching them. They look pretty good. But this line, it just, they are feeling really good about Baltimore at home, even though I do think this is a crazy line. And I do think that the Bears are better than we give them credit for. I am choosing Baltimore in this one. Sorry, neighbor. I hope you don't listen. Moving on. that's the tagline for this podcast. Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Hope you don't listen. We're feeling crazy today, folks. No, my neighbor is a good guy. I hope he does listen, and I hope that he that he can have his druthers. I'm hoping that he can. Maybe he comes on and tells me how good the Bears are sometime. I'll reach out to him. Next game, Miami Dolphins versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons here are favored by 7.5. The over/under is 44.5. The Dolphins did me dirty the same way that the Jets did. I picked them. I thought I was doing them a favor, giving them some confidence, saying that they could win. I'm not having that confidence this week. We're definitely going with the Falcons in this game. The Dolphins are really, just like I was earlier, the Dolphins look like they're spiraling out of control. The next game is going to be the Buffalo Bills versus the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are the home dogs here, plus 7.5 at home. While I do like the Panthers, they are 4-3, a little bit of a surprising 4-3. I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Bills here. We're going with the Bills in this one. The next game is the New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And right after having a little bit of hope, Giants fans then had to see a Giants fan in the streets completely fall flat on his face, and that was the metaphor for the game too. The Giants just aren't quite there yet, and I do think they have a little bit more talent than we gave them credit for. They have some exciting players on that team, but I'm not going to pick them over the Philadelphia Eagles here in this game. The Eagles are 5-2. I think they're going to go be 6-2 after this game. Going with the Eagles. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots. Patriots here are favored at home by 7.5. I wrote down 6.5. Good thing I checked. The over/under here is 40.5. The Browns were surprising last week. They won their second game of the season. But I do think the Patriots, sadly, now the Patriots are 5-2, and I just locked them in. What is happening? I'm not happy about this, but I feel good about it. We're locking in the Patriots for this win. We're not thinking about it too much, and man, I worry. What world is this? What has become of us, folks? The Patriots are good again, I guess. We're moving on. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints aren't good again. They're having a tough season. That looks to continue. They are home dogs here. They're plus 4.5 at home. There's a 46.5 over/under. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers should win this game. You feel fairly confident about that. Sorry, New Orleans fans. Just a tough season for y'all. Moving on, the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts here playing in Indy. Titans are 1-6, Colts are 6-1. Titans are at the bottom of the AFC South, and the Colts are at the top of the AFC South, and that looks to continue even after this game. The Colts are favored in this game by 14.5 at home, with a 47.5 over under. And yeah, this is not a big thinker here. You're going with the Colts, and it hurts. 7-1, top of the AFC South, while the Texans are probably, I'm picking the Texans to lose their game. They're gonna have to climb out of a hole this season. These Houston Texans. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be straightforward. Might be a bit of a roller coaster season. Brace yourselves, Texans fans. But if you have anybody to help you with this, it's a Houston Astros fan that just dealt with the 2025 Astros season. I'm here for you. I'm here for your emotions. Real quick sidebar. I know I've been teasing that Houston Astros 2025 season scapegoat podcast episode. I had to refine it, I had to tweak it a little bit, but it is coming out this week. I do apologize. I said it would come out this following week, but for real this time, it's coming out. Be tuned for that. Moving on to this next football game. After picking the Colts and feeling sad about it, we have the Dallas Cowboys against the Denver Broncos. We could feel a little better here. The Cowboys are 3-1. The Broncos are 5-2. The Broncos are favored by 3.5 in this game, and over/under is 50.5. The Broncos are gonna probably win this one pretty easily, I believe. Sad news for the Cowboys fans, but at least there's that. Maybe I could take some solace in the Cowboys not exactly having the best season right now. Moving on from being a hater, the Green Bay Packers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've seen the promos for this Sunday Night Football. The Packers are favored here by 2.5, or the Steelers are home dogs, I should say, by 2.5. However you want to look at it, the over/under is 45.5. And yeah, I do think the Steelers play these games really hard, but I do not. And it's not just because I don't like Aaron Rodgers, because, who does like Aaron Rodgers? Besides Aaron Rodgers and potentially his podcast guest, who likes Aaron Rodgers? It's not a long list of people. But, this isn't a hot take. It's such a cold take that I even feel bad saying it. I almost feel bad for the guy. But the fact of the matter is, it's not just because I'm being a hater. It's just because I do think the Green Bay Packers are a much better team. I think that the Steelers would have to play a completely perfect game almost to beat them. And Mike Tomlin could have them capable of that for sure. But I'm picking the Packers in this one and not overthinking it. Moving on to Monday Night Football. No doubleheader this week, so don't worry about staying up completely past your bedtime. The Washington Commanders are taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are completely favored at home. This is Paul's pick of the week. We're not overthinking this one here. By 12.5. Over/under here is 47.5. Obviously not the biggest spread this week, where Indy's given more points here at home, but I do feel more confident about this game. Feel more confident about the Chiefs winning this one. We're going with the Chiefs here, Monday Night Football. And moving on. Folks, we're hoping to have a double-digit win this week. We need it. I already have the Sleeper app open, and I'm putting my picks in as we speak, because I do not want a repeat of what happened last week. What happened last week was just terrible. Even without not putting my picks in, a 7-8 week when I was hoping for a double-digit win. We're looking at this. I took a loss with the Pittsburgh game. I took the loss, obviously, picking Miami over Cleveland. So wrong. There was not even a Carla's Dog of the Week this week. I was wrong with Philadelphia and Minnesota. I was wrong with New York Jets, obviously, which was just killer. I was wrong about the Colts winning. Obviously, I still feel good about the Chargers, but I was really hoping the Chargers could put the Colts away. It just didn't happen. I was wrong about Dallas. That made me sad, obviously, too. I was wrong about San Francisco, even though I feel good about them this week, and I was obviously wrong about the Houston Texans. And that's all of those things were just way too tough. It was a tough week for me, so we're looking for double-digit wins. Carla is, too. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We are a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We are supported by listeners like you, so please share with a Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to this podcast. Please reach out on social media, let me know your takes, let me know how you've been doing with your picks this season. Compare and contrast your win-loss records with me. Speaking of what are my win-loss record, I said it earlier, I don't have it up right now. I'm 57-51 officially on the Sleeper app. Let me know how you're doing on social media. That's at Space Cadet Sports. You can call in, leave me a message at SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. If it isn't too profane or completely off the walls, it may even make the podcast, or at least I'll respond to it. Let me know on Substack how you're feeling too. You can leave a comment on this podcast on Substack. You can get like 99% of the content that we do on the blog and on the podcast on that Substack for free for being a subscriber. That's right, we do have a premium subscription, but we don't like to put too much behind that paywall because we're just trying to build that community there with you on the Substack. Go check that out at spacecadetsports.substack.com and become a subscriber today. And if you'd be so kind of being a premium subscriber, you could let us know what type of perks you would like behind that paywall. But obviously the premium subscription is just a way to help pay for the bills around here, help pay for those treats for Carla. If you want to support and you're like, I don't really want to be that premium subscription, that's not really my jam, you could help support with some merch. That's right, we have Don't Sleep on Houston basketball merch. We also have Carla the Dog hats in H-Town Blue. We have more Carla the Dog merch like stickers coming out soon. You can find that at paulsalazarjr.net. If you've gotten this far, obviously, you don't mind me too much, you can find me, Paul Salazar Jr., making weird jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more at Paul Salazar JR on social media. And once again, that website, paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. You can find my other Substack where I write short stories and all kinds of silly stuff there on the website. Find all that other nonsense if you're nasty. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Please donate to get me a speech coach. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, vamos, Houston.